Imagine you're making a major investment decision, maybe expanding production, launching a new product, or upgrading key equipment. You've gathered data, run projections, and built your case. But here's the problem. Every estimate you've made is wrong. That's right. The only thing we know for certain about our estimates is that they're wrong. No forecast, no matter how carefully constructed, will ever be exactly right. So the question isn't whether our estimates will be off. The question is how wrong they might be and whether we can still make a great decision despite that uncertainty. This is where Step 4, Manage Risks and Upsides, comes in. In this lesson, we'll cover how to use ranges instead of single point estimates to reflect uncertainty and prepare for best and worst case scenarios, prioritize risk analysis based on the key drivers we identified in Step 3 and focus on what could actually change the decision, and apply strategies like red teaming and premortems to challenge assumptions and expose hidden risks. Stick with us, because mastering this step will help you become a more confident decision maker by embracing uncertainty rather than fearing it. In Step 3, we determine the key drivers, the small set of variables that have the biggest impact on our decision. Now, in Step 4, we analyze how uncertain we are about those key drivers and what could happen if they shift. Most decision-making frameworks rely on single-point estimates, one fixed number for revenue, cost, demand, etc. But that's not how the real world works. Markets shift, costs fluctuate, and unexpected events happen. Instead of pretending we know the exact number, we should embrace uncertainty by evaluating a range of possible outcomes for each key driver. At the same time, we recognize that analysis is only valuable up to the point it might lead to a different conclusion. There's no benefit in overanalyzing minor risks or variables that don't significantly impact the decision. We focus our energy where it matters, on the key drivers we identified in Step 3. Many decision makers fall into one of these three traps. 1. False precision and paralysis by uncertainty. Relying on single-point estimates creates a false sense of certainty, while fear of making the wrong decision can lead to inaction. The solution? Use ranges of possible outcomes to reflect real-world uncertainty and focus on the most likely range of outcomes to make the best decision given the information available. 2. Overanalyzing small risks. Wasting time on risks that have little impact on the final decision. The solution? Prioritize risk analysis for key drivers identified in Step 3. 3. Overconfidence in estimates, assuming our projections are more accurate than they actually are. The solution? Use ranges to challenge our confidence in estimates and apply red teaming and premortems to expose blind spots and hidden risks. Let's walk through how to effectively evaluate risks and upsides without getting overwhelmed. First, we start with the key drivers identified in Step 3. These are the factors that will have the biggest impact on the decision, so they deserve our primary focus. Next, we use premortems and red teaming to explore both best and worst case scenarios. A premortem means imagining our decision has already failed. What went wrong? By identifying these risks up front, we can mitigate them before they happen. Red teaming, on the other hand, involves assigning a group to challenge our assumptions and poke holes in our estimates to uncover weaknesses. It's important to remember that we tend to focus only on what could go wrong, but we should also explore what could go better than expected. Are there upside opportunities we're not considering? If you'd like best practices for conducting a premortem, be sure to download the premortem tip sheet for a step-by-step guide. Once we've explored possible risks and upsides, we identify proactive actions to influence the outcome. What steps can we take to increase the chances of the best case scenario happening? How can we reduce the likelihood of the worst case? These actions will be incorporated into our implementation plan in Step 6 of the decision-making framework. After that, we establish ranges for our key drivers. Using the insights from our risk analysis, we determine reasonable confidence intervals rather than assuming a single fixed value. For example, instead of assuming demand will increase exactly 10%, we might estimate a range of 5 to 15%. Finally, we apply a similar approach to non-key variables, acknowledging that every estimate is uncertain, but keeping the level of analysis proportionate to their impact on the decision. Let's return to our Widget Turner 5000 case study. In Step 3, we identified three key drivers for profitability: incremental production, the value of the additional units we can produce per year, labor cost savings, the reduction in operator costs from automation, and yield improvement, the improved yield that we get by reducing manual handling of the widgets. Now in step 4, we assess the uncertainty in these drivers. For instance, our estimate for labor cost savings in step 3 assumed that the widget turner 5000 would only require 1 operator per shift, reducing headcount by 2 operators. But what if the widget turner 5000 isn't as reliable as we expect, and we can only eliminate 1 operator? We'll use that as a downside case for labor cost savings. Now, let's consider yield improvement. Notice that our estimate was based on experiments we conducted. Suppose that in one of those experiments we actually saw a 75% improvement in yield. We can use that as the upside case. We would then continue this line of questioning for the other key drivers, documenting our assumptions around what could cause the upside and downside, just as we did in these examples. Where appropriate, we can use red teaming to challenge our assumptions and premortems to stress test our estimates before moving forward. Next, we want to capture any actions we can take to maximize the best case and avoid the worst case scenarios. For instance, we could decrease the likelihood that the widget turner 5000 has poor reliability by ensuring that we integrate it into our maintenance program. Finally, we acknowledge that other costs like electricity costs are relevant factors, but have a smaller impact compared to the primary key drivers. We'll still establish ranges for these, but we won't invest as much time and energy because their influence on the final outcome isn't as significant. Our final output for this step will include ranges for each variable, along with key assumptions and actions for our key drivers. We would repeat this same process for the other alternatives we're considering, but for the purpose of this case study and lesson, we'll assume we've already done that. If you want to make faster, better decisions, you need to embrace uncertainty rather than fear it. To do this, remember, every estimate is wrong. What matters is how wrong it could be. Analysis is only valuable up to the point it might lead to a different conclusion. Explore the best and worst cases to improve decision quality. And use red teaming and premortems to challenge assumptions. Next, we move to step 5, economic analysis, where we use our key drivers and ranges to calculate the financial impact of our decision.